on this week's SWAU Conversation with the Stars, we've got a great guest. I'm slightly nervous because in this show that this guest is in, she is rather scary. And we're talking about Cross on Amazon's Prime. And let's welcome this wonderful guest. It's Jennifer Wigmore. Jennifer, welcome to the show, my love.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Do you know what? I was so scared to have you on. Not because I'm sure that you're a lovely person, but in this show, literally, she is a force to be reckoned with is an understatement. And I did have Sharon Taylor on a few days ago, and she said to me, don't worry, just mention painting and you'll be fine. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of Cross on Amazon Prime, painting, what's all that about?
Well, I actually quit painting. I quit acting for about 10 years and became a painter. And so I have a thriving visual art practice as well as a writing practice, as a artistic polymath, I guess.
What is it? What do you get out of painting that you don't get out of performing either on stage or in front of the camera?
Well, when you're acting, you can't do it by yourself. You can't. You actually need other people to be able to do it. And so it's something that you have to wait until people say, okay, yes, you can go now, and you can go now. Action. You have to wait, and you have to set up circumstances where you can do it with other people. Whereas painting or writing, you can do by yourself.
That is very true. And I wish I had an artistic flair. My paintings would probably look like those paintings that the people just throw the paint at the canvas, or something like that. My girls are amazing artists, so they live in through their arts, which is fantastic. But let's talk about this show, because I binge watched this show. And this
you did? Have you seen them all?
Yes, and it caused me to have a very late night and a very early morning for work. But it's one of those shows that once you finish one episode, you've got to watch the next one. You've got to, because you can't just stop. It's crazy. So if you could tell all the lovely viewers on whom you play and a bit about the show in your own words.
Sure. I had the same experience as you, Bryan, because I had only seen episode 1 and 2 at the premiere. So I was just like everybody else when it dropped on the 14th, which happened to be my birthday and the best birthday present ever. I couldn't stop watching them either. I forgot I was even in it, to be honest. It's designed to make you feel like, oh, I have to keep going and stay up all night and call in sick to work. Chief Anderson is the chief of the Washington police. She is ambitious and a little bit ruthless. But I think ultimately she really believes in Cross and has to try and keep him in line, because he is not somebody who likes to follow the rules. And so she's constantly having to keep him in check. And it gets a little heated between the two of them because, of course, she doesn't like being wrong and he doesn't like being wrong. So they get into it. But they have a nice redemption moment at the end of the season. And I think you see the different side of Anderson outside of the uniform, and that you can sort of see the woman behind the career a little bit. And that's one of the things I love about this show, is that all the characters are incredibly complicated and real people. And I think people will find themselves in somebody. And there isn't one character, I don't think, that doesn't have some sort of roundedness to them or some sort of character arc that you can sink your teeth into.
And like I said to Sharon a few days ago, the wonderful thing about this show is that even though we've got the main character of Cross, everyone is equally as important. Everyone is a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. And without a certain character, it just wouldn't feel the same and it wouldn't be complete. I love your character on how we see her when she comes on screen. I always think to myself, oh, what is she going to say this time? Because she has some amazing one-liners, which we will talk about that very, very shortly. But what was it about Chief Anderson? Because you're no stranger to strong female leads. You know, when we're not seeing you, being in charge of the CIA, in Designated Survivor, and all your other projects. I mean, what is it that initially drew you to this role specifically?
I mean, I think that I love playing strong female characters. I think there's something really wonderful about that, and it's the kind of role model that I want to be for women and girls in the world. But it's also partly because it's me. I mean, I'm a strong, ambitious woman, and I often get to play aspects of myself. You know, even even Anderson is just an aspect of me, just heightened a little bit. But I also get to play wonderful characters like Miss Grayling on Mallory Towers,
Mm.
and there is an incredibly warm and generous and kind person whose whole job is to make girls' lives better and make them better people. And so, I find them not that dissimilar. I was very lucky this summer because I was shooting both Mallory Towers season 6 and Cross season 2 at the same time. And so I was flying back and forth from England to Toronto to play these two wildly different characters, but really also very similar women in many, many ways.
I was just about to say, thank goodness you didn't get the characters mixed up, because that would have been an interesting episode of a kids' TV show. I don't think that would have really gone down well.
Right?
Why do you think it's important that we see more female leads? Because I've got 2 young girls now, and I think since having girls, I've gravitated towards strong female, characters on screen, because for me, I want my girls to grow up seeing these strong characters, and for them not to think they've always got to be a damsel in distress or be that person
That's
behind
right.
that powerful man, or be, I want them to take charge and do whatever they want to do in life. So
Yeah.
why do you think it's important to have more female leads, on our screens?
Well, I mean, I think, since the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, I think what we've really seen is there's an issue of representation that is unequal in film and television, which is a huge has a huge impact on people, whether they be young people or old people. It's a part of the way that we learn about ourselves as human beings, is watching other people enact stories that that we wouldn't have to go through, and we learn things about ourselves. And when you know that about film and television, you have that responsibility. You have to also then make it equal, or at least try and strive to have a level of diversity that represents everyone. And for generations, for all time, it hasn't been equal. There hasn't been enough women in film. There hasn't been enough middle-aged women represented. There hasn't been enough people of color represented in all aspects of film and television. So I think what you're seeing right now is a try to rebalance some of that, and that's why I think Ben Watkins, who's our showrunner, and the incredible writers on our show have surrounded Alex Cross with incredible strong women. And I think that's probably because Ben's a feminist, and he really wants to change the narrative of the way that people look at these kinds of shows. And usually, these kinds of shows are just big testosterone fests, right? Like lots of men doing manly things. And so I think in order for him to rebalance it, he needed to make the people around Cross also be strong. And that's why Cross is surrounded by incredibly powerful women. Juanita Jennings, who plays Nana Mama, and Sam Welks, who plays his girlfriend, and Alona Tall. Oh,
Mhm.
incredible, who plays Kyla Craig. I mean, these are incredibly powerfully strong, independent, complicated women, and that's because of Ben that we have those characters in the show.
I mean, let's talk about the writing, because the writing of this show is just extremely good. You know, lots of twists and turns. When you first got the script for this show, because obviously it's based on the book, but they've decided to take that bold move, which I think is fantastic, where they've done something different to the book. So then you haven't got the
Mm-hmm.
people saying, "Well, you know, it's not like the book; it's completely
That's right.
different." Obviously, the themes of this show is very um, edgy. You know, it sort of makes me think. You know, is this a reflection of what's going on in the real world? You know, with police and different sort of groups in America. Did that sort of shock you within the writing and when you got the script? And were you worried at all? Because Chief Anderson has got quite a few sort of warped sort of ideas at the beginning. I think that obviously, you know, she's got points to prove and she's in that position of power amongst a lot of men. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
talk about the redemption bit at the end, which is beautiful to see. But were you worried at all when you saw the script and knew where the story was going to go?
No, I wasn't worried because I trust Ben and I trust the writers to weave a complicated and truthful story with grace and integrity. Um, and even though we only ever read one script at a time, so we would read it together as a group and then we would shoot it, and then we would read the next one and we'd shoot it, and so we were learning along with just as we were making it about what was happening to the characters. So we didn't know in advance what was going to happen to any of us, really. Um, but I think as an actor, you have to trust the writers. You have to trust them with your character, and then they in turn will learn about you.
Mm,
Um, and I know that once you start bringing yourself to a role, the writers then start writing with you in mind. And the ways that you do things, the ways you say things become part of how they think about that character because you're the one who's playing it. And that becomes a beautiful dance that happens in further seasons. I think you'll start to see that when season two comes out, that the people have really gelled together as a team, and so the writers can be very economical and judicious with how they say things because they know how the characters talk, because of us. Um, so, I mean, I think the writers that we have a number of incredible writers on the show, and led by Ben at the top, and
mm.
I just think they're just really good at what they do. I mean,
So, are
the
you
show
saying
speaks
in
for
a
itself.
nutshell that we might be seeing a softer side to Chief Anderson in season two?
Oh no!
Oh, good,
Oh,
good,
oh no!
good, good. I want them one line,
I wouldn't say
especially at
that.
the. I think she was at the dinner table and she said a one-liner, and I was like, "Oh my days! I can't believe that came out your mouth." I was like, I
Me
couldn't.
neither.
It's something to do with a V and an A. I'm not going to go
Yeah.
into details. Viewers, you'll have to watch it. You will catch it.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
the chief of police. What sort of research did you do to bring that authenticity to the screen? Because I can't imagine there's many, when they should be, many female chief of police out there. I mean, did you find them
No.
and did you do research with them?
Yes. I mean, sadly, there's not as many as there should be because, statistically, areas that have female chiefs are doing better than areas that don't. Um, so maybe there should be more. But yeah, I did do quite a bit of research on all the women who are in positions of high authority in the police, whether they be in America or Canada or elsewhere, and just kind of research them as much as I could to figure out kind of the sacrifices that they've made, the the way they got to the journey with which they got there, whether or not they were beat cops and then detectives, or whether they were career police officers. Um, and they ranged in all kinds of ways. And I think the path is never easy or clear. And I think the one thing that was universal about all of them was the just incredible dedication and the amount of work that all these women would have had to do in order to get where they got. And so, that helped me really understand why she'd be harder than most, because she there it's easy to lose your job when you're a unicorn, you know. um,
Yeah.
and so there's a pressure, a level of pressure. She also has ambitions for herself, which you'll see in the
Mm.
show, beyond the chief of police. And so that makes her even more cautious about making mistakes or having somebody make a mistake on her behalf. And, I think it's very easy to lose your job when you're at the top because there's nobody else to blame but
Yeah.
you. And so I think she's worried that she will lose everything because Cross is making mistakes and breaking the rules. And so she has to figure out how to keep him in line, and that it doesn't always work.
It's a
I wonder
great
why.
dynamic. It really, really is. And it must be such a rewarding role to have. I've got to ask, going into season 2, did you, find it was more fun because you've played, Chief Anderson for a whole season in season 1. So going into season 2, it must be a character that's, more instilled in you that it actually felt a bit more natural to go into season 2.
Always. I mean, always when you're going into a second season of a character, you're not building the character, you are the character.
Mm.
And every subsequent season, you just get more confident and more. As I was shooting season 6 of Mallory Towers this year, I found that it was just so effortless. I honestly could just, I didn't have to think about it at all. I just did it. And it was a really interesting experience to not really have to prepare to play the character, because it just was like putting on a pair of shoes, that you've had around, you've worn them in, they're really great, you love those shoes, and you put them on and you feel different, and then you just walk around. And that's kind of how I felt. uh, and season 2 had aspects of that for sure, and that's why we're so hoping everybody will binge watch the show and get us to season 3 so that we can all put on those shoes again and walk around.
Definitely, definitely. Do we know when season 2 is coming out?
Nope.
Is there any? Oh, you know what? I need to put my ear to the ground and let everyone know when that comes out. So this show is based around Washington, D.C., which is one of my
Mhm.
favorite places to go. I've been there quite a few
Wow.
times because I had family that lived in Maryland, just outside. Was it actually filmed in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, there are many, 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 many location shots we did in Washington. And, it's great that you say that, because I think, and I've said this before, that I think that the Washington actually functions as a character in
Mm,
the show. It's so well treated, and there's an aspect of Washington that I don't think we've ever seen before. Washington is one of these places that many, many people think they know it because of the many shows that have taken place there and the iconic landmarks that we all think that we've been to, even if we haven't, because of so many television movies, right? But I think that you're going to see a side of Washington that no one has ever seen before. And I think Ben really, really wanted, and I know Aldis did too, really, really wanted to capture that side of Washington because that is just as authentic as the rest of it. And that montage sequence at the
mm.
beginning of the first episode just, I remember when I saw it at the premiere, and I thought, I've never seen anything like that before in television, in a main primetime television. That kind of direct address almost felt documentary
Mm.
kind of filmmaking. That I thought, this is different. And from that moment, I was like, okay, this is really. a different show, and the way that they treat the locations is different. Ben's Chili Bowl is an iconic landmark
Mm.
in Washington, and they were very much a part of our lives. And all the people, the founders, the women of Ben's Chili, were part of the show. They would come up to the set. They redid an entire to the nth detail of Ben's Chili was rebuilt in the studio in Toronto.
Wow.
And I mean, yeah, incredible. Like really, it was a really incredible set.
Well, I'm sure
And
there's going to be queues outside the door now
oh, I
for
hope
it's
so.
great
Oh, I really
advertising.
hope so.
And Jennifer, I have got a confession. I once went to Washington DC and nearly got arrested. And do you know
What did you
why?
do?
Apparently, it's frowned upon to lean on the Declaration of Independence, because I was like, it was so faded. I was leaning over, and I just got this very stern talking to by a police officer, and I got out of it
Wow.
because I used a British card. And I said,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Well,
I'm a tourist. I do apologize. And I got told off for jaywalking in Washington as well, because apparently you're not allowed to cross the
really?
road. But in the UK, you can cross wherever as long as you don't get run
Oh,
over. You're fine.
and in Canada too. I mean, jaywalking is a part of our lives. Wow, you really can't? Okay, well, see,
Yeah.
you've just taught me two things that are going to save me next time we're in Washington.
And let's
Don't lean on the
yes, yes,
independence.
Declaration of Independence. But the way
Oh,
that she said it was quite funny. But I will not do that again. But I've got to say, Washington DC is the cleanest place I've ever been. One of the
oh,
cleanest cities. The underground makes the London Underground look absolutely disgusting because Washington is
well,
so clean. It really,
yeah.
really is. Um, and I've got to say, mention about the show about the serial killers, because I was quite shocked that they used the real pictures. And one of the pictures in there was one of the shooters from Washington. Um,
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
and I the last time I was in Washington was at that time, so I was there
Oh,
when that was
wow.
going off. Yeah, and it was a scary time. And I've got to mention the man
Wow.
that plays the serial killer, and I've got a picture of you and him together. Obviously, he doesn't look like a serial killer here. It
He
it
just
looks
is.
it looks like the sweetest man ever,
He
but
is.
in the show, literally, he plays the character to a T.
Oh,
Literally, he's dead
Ryan.
behind the
Over here.
eyes. Yeah, yeah, over that side. There you go.
There
Um,
he is.
what was he like to be around? Because on screen, he's the scariest man I've ever met. And I used to be a prison officer, and I've actually came across one of the most prolific serial killers in the UK on a weekly basis,
Oh, who was that?
called Moira Hindley, who
Oh,
I won't go into
dear.
detail, but people can search who she was. And I used to come across her every single week because we had to escort her into the local
Wow.
town, believe it or not, to
Let's
get her hair
look
done.
her up.
Yes, she was.
She
Yeah,
a female serial
a
killer.
female. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She
Wow.
was
Okay, I'm
Moira
looking her up
Hindley.
right now.
So watching him play Ed Ramsey, seeing the behind the eyes, it reminded me of Moira Hindley because there was nothing behind
Really?
there. It was it was vacant. But the way that he played that character, I thought was the scariest thing I've
Right?
ever seen on TV. Forget Hannibal Lecter. This
Yeah.
guy is the creepiest thing ever. But what was he like? I mean, he just looks lovely there. He's such an outstanding actor like yourself.
He really is. And, his place, Ed Ramsey is so different than his New Amsterdam character, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, it couldn't be
yeah,
more
just a bit.
opposite. And maybe that's why he wanted to do it, because, he just finished how many millions of seasons of New Amsterdam. And so I think he wanted to do something different, and really show that he's just not that nice guy on a medical drama, right? Like
Mm,
he's complex, and he's a really good actor, and he can do just about anything. And so I mean, his Ed Ramsey was very, very complicated and weird and challenging, and an absolute psychopath. And Ryan is just the sweetest, gentle, quiet, kind fella. Like, I mean, he really is funny and
Yeah.
sweet. He's very funny. That's a surprise. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's very quick. And that whole party sequence that we shot in episode 5 was, we were actually trapped at a location. We couldn't leave,
Oh,
and
wow.
so unlike going to our trailers or separating, we were kind of all stuck in the same room. And there was this one day, and we were there for like a week. And there was this one day that we were bored, and it was like a classroom we were in. It was a very strange room, and at the end there was this big whiteboard, and somebody just said, "Let's play a game." And so we started playing Hangman, and and we loved it. We had the best time, and all of us got in there. Aldis was there, and Isaiah, and
And it
and
looks very
Ryan, and
glamorous. Very glamorous,
yeah,
I've got to say. They did and then Aldis Hodge, I've got to say, I mean, I've got to ask, this caliber of casts, including yourself, is incredible for a show. So, what do you get out of, say, acting opposite Hodge, and the other cast? What do you get out of it as an actor? Because it must be quite good, because it's like going to the gym where you're sort of
yeah.
flexing your acting skills and you're upping each other. And I asked Sharon this same question because, no matter how good an actor is, a performer is, they must get something from that sort of experience. I've got a picture of you with just look at that. Oh, look at
Oh,
that face.
yeah.
What sort of things did you take away as a performer from being on this show, in the way of going
Oh,
forwards to future work?
I mean, it's such a blessing to work with incredibly talented actors, because it just ups your game as an
Mm,
actor, because they want to play with you so bad that you can't hide from them. And so it just really makes you come to the table with everything that you have. And then, the fact that they're also really nice people is very helpful, because it creates an atmosphere of trust and respect and safety. I mean, the fact that, Eloise and Ryan, had to do some really hard stuff together,
mm,
and their connection as people was based on trust and respect and care. And so they were able to go really far because they felt safe.
mm,
And it's the same with Aldis. We have a really hot scene in episode 5. There's a particular, the gun and badge scene is really
mm,
heated. And I think we were both able to go there at that point because we really trusted each other, and we knew that it wasn't actually real, but it was as real as we could make it for those characters. And the situation was real. And so, yeah, it just, every time you get to work with class actors, class A actors, you become a better actor. That's just the
mm.
way it works. And so I feel like I've walked off the set with going to a master class every day.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
yeah,
hope you don't mind. These are the pictures I saw on your Instagram, and
yeah,
we can't leave these pictures without showing one more. So obviously,
okay.
this show is so
Is
tense.
it with me and Sharon?
Yeah, yeah. How did you know that?
I just had
So
a guess. Yeah.
there you go. There you go.
That was a great day.
This show
Oh my
must be so
God.
tense to be on set. It must wear you down emotionally as well. So what's really nice, and this picture I love because it just shows that literally this is how you must unwind, and it's a bit like therapy, isn't
Yeah.
it? But did you get
Yeah.
any of that ice cream?
Yes, I did. This was an ice cream truck day. Our writers, Sam and Jim, got us an ice cream truck on set one day, and Sharon and I we just happened to be shooting one, I don't know, some scene or another, and we went to go and get an ice cream. Oh yeah, I mean, but that just tells you in a picture really how it felt to be on set every day. I mean, honestly, we were absolute goofballs and really laughed a lot, and have a really good time together. And we took care of each other because the material itself isn't the easiest.
No.
And there's not a lot of laughs in the show, so there had to be a laughs offset, and in so that everybody knew that we're all safe, we're all okay, and even though the material can be hard, we aren't. It's not something we're going to take home with us.
Yeah.
We're going to eat ice cream together and laugh.
What a way, and what an ice cream. That looks impressive.
Isn't it so good, right?
Yeah. So two more questions before we bid farewell, because I know you're a busy lady with lots of interviews to do,
Yeah.
rightly so. So the other question I wanted to ask was, it being obviously 2 seasons, did you manage to take anything from the set as a memento?
Oh, well, I have my my Chief Anderson chair label right over here.
Oh, anything else?
So they gave us the chair. What else? Aldis always gave us really nice gifts at the end of the year. So I have a cross bag, and I have I have a cross hoodie, which my son wears. He loves it. Um, I don't think I've taken any mementos yet from the set because I think everything has to stay there, because
which is a good sign. Yeah, it's a
they
good
want to
sign.
keep it, I did get to keep my leggings from episode 8. So I do have those pants.
Excellent. I mean, thing is, it is a good sign is when you finish and they say, yeah, you can take whatever you want.
Can't have anything. Yeah, exactly.
That is when you worry. But the fact that you're not allowed anything is a good sign. And then the last question to ask you, have you got a favorite one-liner? Like your favorite scene, your favorite thing that you said on the show? Because it is true that every time you grace the screen, it was a case of, oh my days, what is she going to say next? She's going to put someone in line, or she's going to say a one-liner.
I mean, I think she has a number of really good one-liners, and wait till season 2, the party continues that way. But I think, my favorite line for her is "Not every case you work is Silence of the Lambs," because I mean, I love that movie. I'm a huge serial killer fan, and so being able to say that line was really fun, and also just to put him in his place. And it turns out this. It was kind of Silence of the Lambs, actually.
Very close.
Ed Ramsey, really close.
Very, very close. But Jennifer, thank you so much for giving me your time. Everyone needs to check this show out. Make sure you've got a whole day to yourself, because you're going to want to watch every episode one after the other. And I look forward to season 2. But Jennifer, look after yourself and keep safe.
Yes. Thank you so much, Bryan. It's been a real pleasure. And we'll do this again for season 2.
Definitely.